Hi everyone. So today we will be solving this problem max consecutive ones. So in this question we have a nums array and an integer k, and this nums array has only zeros and ones. Okay. So we have to tell the maximum number of consecutive ones in this array, and one more condition is that we can flip at most k zeros. So suppose this is the example array and k is equals to 2. That means we can flip any two zeros to 1. So suppose if we flip this 0 and this 0 to 1, so this will be our new nums array. And in this array, the consecutive ones are 6. Okay. And suppose if we flip these two zeros to 1, in that case, these 5 elements will be 1. So the consecutive ones will be 5, which is smaller than 6. So obviously our answer will be 6. So even if you try to flip any other 0 in this array, the answer will always be 6, because that is the max number which we can get by flipping this 0 and this 0. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem using sliding window approach.
All right, so we will solve this problem using sliding window approach. And in this, what we assume is that we have a window, and in that window, all the elements will be 1. And suppose we encounter a 0, so either we will try to flip it, and if we cannot flip it, we will try to remove extra zeros from the window. Okay, so let's look at this example. So suppose this is the window and its size is 0 right now. Okay, now we will first see the first element of the array. So we see this is 0, that means we need to flip it. So when we flip it, this will become 1 and the value of k will decrease to 1. So now we can increase the window, because we have already said that window will only contain ones. It will not contain 0. Okay. Next element is also 0. So we can flip it to 1 and we can increase the size of window, and this value will be 0. Okay. So now when this value of k becomes 0, that means we cannot further flip any more zeros. That means when we will get next element to be 1, then only we can increase the size of the window. Okay. Otherwise, we will have to reduce the element from the window. So first of all, we will save the size of whatever the window size is right now, which is 2. We will save this 2. So 2 basically means we have found consecutive 2 ones till now. Okay, so this is the max we have found till now. Now we will check for these two elements. These two are ones, so we can simply increase the size of the window. We don't need to update the value of k because we did not do any flip. So now we see that the size of the window is what? It is 4. And the earlier max size which we found was 2. So we can update this to 4. Now we see the next element to be 0. We can flip it. When we flip it, the value of k becomes -1. So this is not right. Why? That means we flipped more than 2 zeros in the array. That means we need to adjust our window. Okay, we need to remove some earlier 0 which was flipped from our window. Okay, first of all, the size of the window must have increased. So size of the window will keep on increasing with the new element being added. Okay, so now, as I said, value of k is negative, so we need to remove older zeros from the window. So now we can see this older flipped 0 is removed from our window, so we can increase this -1 to 0. Okay, so now if you see in this window, okay, there are only 2 zeros which are flipped, which is the condition. Okay, this is the condition which we can do, so it's not violating this k's value. And the size of the window is 4, so we don't need to update this variable. Now again, we will check the next variable. This is 0, so we can flip it. We can increase the size of the window, but this value of k will become negative. So again, this is the issue. So we need to remove one element from the window. So when we remove this element, we see this was earlier flipped 0. That means this minus will increase to 0. So again, if you notice, in this window part, we have only 2 zeros which are flipped, this one and this one. So this k value is not violating. Okay. Now we check the next value. This is also 0. So we can flip it. again value of this k becomes -1. This is also issue. So again we will remove the element from the window. Now if you see, we removed 1 from the window. This was not a flipped bit or flipped value. That means this -1 will not increase, because if you see in this window, still there are 3 zeros which are flipped, which is not right. That means we need to remove one more element from the window. Again, when we remove the element, this is again 1 was removed. Value of k will not get impacted. We need to remove one more element. So now we have removed 3 elements from the window. And now we see this element which we removed, the latest, it is the flipped 0. So now the value of k can be increased to 0. So now if you see, the size of the window is 2, and between these two windows, there are only 2 bits, 2 zeros which are flipped. All right. So now we will look at the next element. So basically, we will try to bring the value of k to 0 by reducing the size of the window from the left. Okay. And we will keep on doing it until and unless the value of k becomes 0. Because if the value of k is smaller than 0, then it is violating the condition that we can only flip at most k zeros, right? So now we will look at the next element, which is 1. So we don't need to like change the value of k because we don't need to flip anything. So window is increased. Again, we will do the same thing. Again, 1 is there, so we can increase the size of the window. And you also see we are not updating the max because the size of the window is smaller than 4 or equal to 4. So right now the size of window is 4, so we don't need to update it. Now we will again see that this is 1, so we can include it in our window. So if we see from here till here, there are 5 elements and all are 1s. These were already 1s and these are the flipped ones. Okay, so the number of elements are 5, which is more than the previous, so 5. So whatever the value which got stored in this variable max ones, this is the maximum number of consecutive ones which we found. All right. So this is the value which we will return. Okay. So whatever I have explained, this is this I have shown here using this flow chart kind of. So basically, if the current value is 0, we need to reduce the value of k always, and then we will check the value of k. If it is equals to 0, so we will save the size. Basically, we will keep on updating the max ones with the largest value. Okay, if current value is smaller, we don't need to update. And if the value of k is 0, okay, then what we will do? We will check whether the current element, or basically not the current element, basically the first or the leftmost element in the window. This is the leftmost element, or you can say this element from the window, whether it is 0 or not. If it is 0, we can increase the value of k, right? And if it is not 0, we will not do anything, but we will increase I. I is basically this, okay? I basically is the starting of the window. So we will delete this element and we will shift I forward. So that's why I plus special. Okay, so this is the explanation. So let's code this.
All right. So this is the code. So we have two variables, I and j. So I is basically the starting of the window and j is the end of the window. So right now they are pointing to 0. That means the size of the window is 0 for now. And this variable will store the current size of the window. Okay. And if you see, the loop will go till the end of the array. Okay. So j is 0. So it will keep on moving from left to right. So this is the first condition we would first check if the element is 0 or not. Okay, the current element. So if current element is 0, we will reduce the value of k because we want to
Flip it. Okay, flip value 0.
So now once this is done, then we first need to check if k is equals to 0 or not. If k is equals to 0, that means what, we cannot further flip more zeros. So whatever the size we have got till now, we should save it. Okay, because suppose there were 5 zeros. We flipped starting 2 zeros. Now the next element is also 0. okay, which we cannot include in the answer, right? Because we can only flip maximum of two zeros in our example, okay? So that's why we need to save the answer. So this will contain the maximum of previous answer and the current size of the window, okay? Once this is done, then we will check if the value of k is smaller than 0. If the value of k is smaller than 0, that means we have flipped more zeros than we were allowed to. So what we will do, we will increase the value of I. What does this mean? If we are increasing the value of I, so basically we are deleting the leftmost element from the window, okay? And if that element which we deleted was 0, then we can increase the value of k because it was earlier flipped value. So that means we have removed it from the array, so we can increase the value of k, okay? And then we will move to the next element, okay? We will keep on doing this again and again. And this is one base condition, okay? So suppose there were 5 elements in the array, okay? And the value of k was 1, okay? So in that scenario, what will happen? This condition, okay, will never trigger because there is no 0, so there will be no flipping. That means the value of k will never decrease. If the value of k will never decrease, it will never become 0. So we will never be able to save the size of the window, right? So in that scenario, if the value of k is greater than 0, okay, so then we will also check. If that is the case, we will try to save the answer at the end, okay? Because if the array has all the ones, in that case, the whole array is the answer. So we will save it, the answer, and then you will return it. So this is some boundary condition which we can check. It might also be possible to include it in this loop itself. We can try it. But yeah, while coding, I found this bug. So I solved it in different by using this piece of code, okay? So yeah, this is the code. I will share the link and you can try some other way to solve it also. And also if you see, this loop is just a big O of n complexity, right? Because value of j is 0 and we are incrementing value of 0 till the size of the array. So the time complexity for this will be big O of n. Okay, so this is it. Thanks for watching the video. Bye and take care.